So we might have another few people join us during the webinar, but it's now 10 o'clock here, 11 o'clock for some of you, maybe a bit later. So I think we'll just get this underway. So for those of you who don't know, I'm John and this is Xavier. And I'd like to start off by thanking all of you for turning up to this webinar. And hopefully, as you know, this will be addressing creating hubs for young entrepreneurs. And we'll be saying how this can be used as a solution for youth unemployment across Europe. So this webinar is the result of research financed by an Erasmus Plus project, and it's called EuroHub. And this is a partnership of British, Slovenian, Greek, and Bulgarian organisations.
So yeah, our aim with this presentation is really to plant a seed in your head. We want you to understand the problems of youth unemployment, but we also want you to recognize the need for creating local solutions. And these solutions can be done by anyone. Many different people have worked together to combat youth unemployment in their community. We believe that with this project and this webinar, we can give you a sense, an idea of how you can have an impact on helping the young community around you so that they can become economically independent. Because this webinar is about you, the listeners, we really value your participation, which is why at the end of the webinar, we'll have a discussion section and we will unmute everyone so we can all discuss together. And if you have any questions meanwhile, I think you can type in questions and we'll bring them up at the end of the exercise. Thank you.
Okay, so looking at today's agenda, firstly, we'll look at the context of youth unemployment. So we'll be exploring the reasons behind it and what we think we can do about it. Secondly, as there may be some uncertainty, we'll actually define what a hub is and give you a better understanding of what they involve. We'll then go through some simple models that we at Bridging to the Future have developed in order to make it easier for others to start and maintain their own hubs. So these models are the 5P model, which will help you create your hub, and then the 3Q model, which will help you quality assure the hub. And as Xavier has just mentioned, we'll end with a short Q&A session to answer any other questions you may have. We'll also be doing a short case study for actually implementing the 5Ps, and that will be based on an organisation known as Impact Hub.
Cool. So firstly, we would like to introduce ourselves. So as we said, this webinar is a result of an Erasmus Plus project called EuroHub, but it's also a result of Bridging to the Future's work in the past 9 years. So we work for Bridging to the Future, and Bridging to the Future was founded by Duncan Chamberlain. Duncan Chamberlain used to own a chain of pubs across England. He sold those pubs to create an investment pot of money, an investment pot for startups, social enterprises, and young entrepreneurs across the UK and Europe. So BTF really started off as an investment company specialized in startups.
However, we found that the people approaching Bridging to the Future all came from very similar backgrounds. So they were generally mostly white, middle-class British men. But we believed, and we still do believe, that self-employment and entrepreneurship should be open to everyone. So we then opened up the second branch of Bridging to the Future, and this branch designs, delivers, and tests programs to inspire, train, and advise more entrepreneurs. And we aim to diversify the market and bring more young people, women, disadvantaged people, LGBT, and migrants to entrepreneurship and self-employment.
And yet, to do this, Bridging to the Future has set out several programs. Our programs are based on the principles of learning skills, sustainability, and reflecting our own business experiences. For example, one program takes an individual on a 4-step journey to take an idea into a business, into a growing business, and then into a sustainable business. In another program we coach students so that they can become social entrepreneurs and leadership coaches themselves for their classmates. In one school, they run a social enterprise through this program where they have an income of £40,000 a year. And finally, our investment side is still very active, but we like to think ourselves as coaches who can happen to invest too. So any investment that we do is always accompanied by coaching and training.
So in addition to this, everything we do is related to our mission. And our mission is to enable people to become economically independent through enterprise, education and leadership. So our bridge model, the four-step journey that Xavier has just mentioned, relates to enterprise. Our SLAM program, where the students become the coaches and entrepreneurs, is an example of our educational work. And all of our programs focus first on developing leadership skills, as we have found that these are essential qualities for entrepreneurship, but they're also valuable to anyone professionally and personally.
And yeah, because our aim is to enable anyone to become economically independent, our programs are scalable and adaptable to different people. So for example, we have worked with a group of Bangladeshi women who are illiterate. And through a series of workshops and mentoring schemes, we took them through the bridge model, a four-step journey, so that they can create their own fashion companies. We have also worked with individuals, such as a young Icelandic man who started up his own health and well-being startup, taking his idea and developing into a sustainable business. Now, if you'd like more information about the work we do in Bridging to the Future, feel free to email us or discuss it at the end of the presentation. But for now, we're going to focus on creating hubs.
So to do this, we really need to understand why we need these hubs. And the answer to this is youth unemployment. So this has become a key issue in Europe, and figures behind it are actually quite shocking. So currently over 5 million young people between the ages of 15 to 24-year-old are unemployed in the European Union. This means that 1 out of 4 young people who are eligible to work are unemployed. And in some member countries, this figure is even higher, with reaching 50% or more of young people.
So these statistics have a high number of negative implications. Firstly, it means a disproportionate amount of young people are still dependent on the government or on their families, their parents usually. This puts a strain on national resources, and it also strains family relationships, as parents have to support their children for a longer time than expected. Additionally, it means young people lose out on a lot of experience, damaging relationships and their personal development. For instance, they cannot make their own choices, such as where to live, or going off on holiday, or meeting up with friends, or starting a family. Now, finally, extended time out of work or study also damages the opportunity to gain meaningful employment, as employers are seeking qualified individuals with experience.
So now to give you an example of in the UK, there are 590,000 young people unemployed. And that's a huge number of people who are dependent and restricted in what they can do. As a result, they're missing out on social events and are struggling to fulfill personal ambitions. And this has a series of negative effects on the country as a whole, ranging from mental health to crime. In fact, Mario Draghi, the president of the European Central Bank, has said that youth unemployment is a tragedy that threatens social harmony.
So yeah, why is youth unemployment so high? We've identified 2 main reasons. Firstly, young people lose their jobs more easily. Young people are undervalued by their companies because they have less experience and usually have poorer contracts. Their contracts are temporary ones, and this means that it is easier for an employer to fire its young staff. Secondly, and probably more relevant to this presentation, it's also much harder for a young person to find a job. So according to employers, the main reason why young people do not get hired is their lack of work experience. This means young people are caught in a difficult situation, what we call a catch-22 situation. So to become employed, they need to get work experience. but they cannot get any work experience for that very reason. And that's quite ridiculous.
So clearly youth unemployment is a big issue, but you might be wondering how we can actually solve this problem. But we believe that entrepreneurship and self-employment are actually vital to this. So entrepreneurship is a great way of gaining experience and learning by doing. This improves your skills, making you more employable in the long run, but it's also an opportunity to provide for your own future.
And according to a survey conducted by the British government, 1 out of 3 young people think that they will become self-employed. However, there is a big gap between young people who have an interest in starting up a company and those that actually do start a company. The main causes of the gap are fear failure, which is in turn caused by inadequate education around entrepreneurship, as well as the lack of support or infrastructure, such as a place to work, facilities, or a bank account.
So we've identified the key issue, which is youth unemployment, and the causes of youth unemployment and the effect it has. We've also identified the solution, which is self-employment, but young people have 2 problems. They lack the infrastructure and they lack the support to become self-employed. So how can we promote self-employment and help young people overcome these obstacles? We've actually identified hubs as being a way to do this. So using the model developed by BTF and further developed it in the EuroHub project, the hubs can both provide the infrastructure and the support. This is also important to us as a company because it follows our mission of providing young people with the entrepreneurship and leadership skills to become economically independent.
Now, having established that a hub is a necessary solution, you might be wondering, well, what exactly is a hub? So let's define what a hub is. So a hub is a physical space allowing people from different companies or self-employed people or entrepreneurs to work in the same space. Because you share with other people, it's usually a much cheaper alternative than working in an office. It is also more exciting than working from home, where you might be in your messy room, alone and in darkness. But a hub thus offers a solution to the infrastructure side of the problem. It offers a physical space for work. However, that does not solve the issue in its entirety. There are many co-working spaces in the UK and across Europe, and although they offer a space to work in, they are not enough to help out young entrepreneurs.
So that is why a hub should be more than just a desk to work at. A hub must go further and add more value. A hub should serve multiple purposes within one physical location. For example, it should provide you with business incubation to let your ideas grow and develop as a business in a secure environment and a shared space with other people in similar positions to yourself. A hub should also serve as a sort of community centre, so it allows people like you within the local community to come together and help create opportunities, whether that be creating local employment or using up vacant buildings. A hub creates an ecosystem that promotes entrepreneurship and innovation, so allowing you to be creative in a supportive environment. And a hub also provides a ready-made network for entrepreneurs to sell products or services and find the support they need for their business.
So, in other words, we can say that a hub should be a cheap co-working space, but also provides for a space to work and socialize, a program to help members develop, a community of like-minded individuals, and a host for events to bring together members both inside the hub and also outside individuals and organizations.
So we hope this has kind of clarified why we want hubs to provide a physical space and also a supportive community. However, in order for it to provide those things, a hub needs solid building blocks to start from. And this is why we've designed a simple model that we can help create a hub that has everything that young people need to succeed. And this can be achieved by forming 5 key infrastructures, which we have termed the 5 Ps. So these are physical, people, purpose, payment, program, and payment. And we'll go through in each of these Ps with more detail and examples.
So yeah, Bridging to the Future has identified that the first and maybe the most important P is the purpose infrastructure. We have based this on our social enterprise experience. The purpose is what drives the hub, attracts entrepreneurs and self-employed, and also creates a community. Purpose includes many things, such as the mission of the hub. What we mean by mission is what is the reason why the hub was created? What is the solution it tries to bring? Also, an important aspect is the focus of the hub. So who is the hub aimed for? Who will its members become? Now, the values of the hub are also important. What behaviors determine how the hub operates? For example, values can be of solidarity or of ambition, for example. Now, a hub must also be transparent, and by transparency, we mean a hub must be honest with its members on how it operates. Another important aspect of purpose is also its goals. Now, this differs to mission because goals have perhaps a more short-term focus. For example, one goal of a hub might be to attract 50 members in the next year. Now, a hub must also have its drivers, so what motivates the hub, and the hub must also look to the future. So what will the hub become? So these are what will define and ultimately guide every single aspect of the hub. It will affect how the hub looks, how it functions, and what kind of businesses will set up in its space.
So the second P is the physical infrastructure, and this refers to what the space will actually look like. So there are many parts to consider in this because it will affect the overall success of the hub itself. For instance, the choice of location is very important. It will put people off becoming members if it's difficult to get to. Young entrepreneurs may not have access to a car, so you have to take into account how easy it is to get there by public transport, so bus or by train, or other means of transport. So also you need to consider, will there be space to park a bike, for instance? Similarly, will you provide things like tea and coffee in the space itself, or will you provide printing or shower facilities? These are all minor aspects, but will affect the overall experience of the people joining the hub, and so you need to make sure that you get it right. Additionally, as a hub is meant for all people, the building should also be accessible to all, regardless of disabilities. So therefore, you'll need to ensure that there are ramps and lifts to get up different floors, as well as a fully accessible toilet. Ultimately, the physical infrastructure should also reflect the purpose and values of the people or businesses in the hub itself.
Now, the third P of our model considers the people within the hub. The hub revolves around two sets of people, the hub members and the hub operators. However, for a hub to be sustainable, we encourage that these two groups help each other out. Therefore, so we'll first talk about the hub operators. The hub operators are those that run the space. They are the ones who are in charge of the event and the growth and the maintenance of the hub. On the other hand, we also have hub members. Hub members are young entrepreneurs, the self-employed and startups that use the space. They work in the space so that they can establish and grow their business. Now, hub members should have an input into decisions concerning the operation of the hub, such as the programs that the hub will offer, or redecorating the space, for example. Now, similarly, hub operators should also be able to use the facilities provided by the hub. For instance, being a hub operator can be a part-time job, whilst they also focus on developing their own business. In many cases, this would be beneficial, as they would be then able to understand the needs of the members and could meet those needs better. For example, one member of Bridging to the Future is also a founder of a hub in Birmingham, in the West Midlands in the UK. However, he also works in the hub, and therefore he can better understand the requirements of its members. And being one himself, this enables him to address problems before they start to negatively affect the hub.
So, in order to fulfill the hub's potential as an engaging community and more than just a workspace, we emphasize the importance of offering a strong set of programs. This is the fourth P, and that's the program infrastructure. So we can broadly categorize the different programs run at the hubs into three. So those by the hub, so for an example, an incubator or accelerator run by the hub operators themselves. Those with the hub, so events run at the hub in partnership with another organization that may be promoting a new product or service. And then finally at the hub. So this could be a networking event for members and non-members alike. The purpose of the hub will have a strong effect on what programs it offers. So for instance, if the hub was more focused on kind of tech startups and those kind of businesses, then the hub may choose to partner with an IT and engineering department of a local university and would use the hub space to run events there. Secondly, hub members should also contribute in developing programs. So they can deliver their own event to promote the work they do, or they can use use an event for feedback on a service or product they provide. This would help to create an engaging and dynamic community.
And so yeah, we've covered 4 Ps for the moment: purpose, physical space, people, and programs. But a hub must also be financially sustainable. The final P regards how the hub will be financed, the payment infrastructure. However, there are many options for payment. When establishing the hub, you can look at various opportunities through private funding. For instance, crowdfunding can be very useful. With platforms such as Kickstarter and Indiegogo, there are plenty of people who are ready to donate and finance projects with a mission. Now, similarly, private investment is also an option in this regard. Individuals with an interest in the local area and its development may be willing to support a hub project, particularly if they are a business owner looking for a new workspace. Now, finally, sponsorship and donations from larger funds are also another option. Some large companies, such as Cadbury's, with interests in history in a particular area in the UK, have charitable arms who would be willing to invest in a community and community projects.
So in terms of financing the actual operation of the hub, there are possibilities through both private and public funding. So public contracts, as well as grants and subsidies, offer possibilities for the hub to pursue and could lead to further opportunities and interesting projects to work on. Another option would be to open a kind of bar or cafe in the hub, so a space where the public can come in and sit and do work, but also they'll be spending money, so through that you'll be able to finance the rest of the hub. However, the most reliable form of income would be from the membership fees from the hub members. Whilst paying a membership fee might put some people off, it ultimately increases the stake of those who do pay in the hub itself, and they'll be more committed to making sure the hub fulfills its full potential. Additionally, for those with less money to spend, a tiered membership system would also allow different options depending on people's requirements. So, for instance, people who only work in the hub for kind of 50 hours a month should have to pay less than someone who uses the hub from 9 to 5 days a week.
Yeah, the key to financing a hub is to make it independent. So becoming reliant on outside sources of finance endanger the hub and its mission. So for instance, grants and donations, they may seem like great ways to finance the hub, but they are ultimately unsustainable and in fact quite slow to get. So a hub needs to be able to generate its own income. This makes it self-sufficient and will also allow the hub to focus on making a physical space or the people and the programs and the purpose that the hub really wants without compromise.
So we've now finished looking over the 5P model that helps establish and run a hub, but that's actually only one side of the story. So we also need to highlight the importance of making sure the hub is run well in the long term. So that's why we'll now talk about quality assurance. But first, you might be wondering what quality assurance is. Briefly, quality assurance is a method to ensure that the services your hub provides are up to standard.
So in fact, quality assurance is very important because it allows you to analyze yourself and your hub, and also enables you to create and operate a hub that adheres to your mission and that of its members. So bridging to the future, we've created quite a simple model based on our experience that we have tested for quality assurance. We have named it the 3Q model. The 3Q model, it's easy to use so that it can easily help hubs quality assure their own services and make it adaptable to any type of hub that there might be, or service as well. So the 3Q model is made up of 3 questions, hence the name. These 3 questions ensure that the creation of the hub follows a user and mission-orientated approach. So the questions are designed to be applied to every decision you will make in the creation of your hub, from big decisions, such as the introduction of a new program, to the smallest detail, such as choosing the tables or the space.
So the first question of the model is the purpose. What is the purpose of this? So this question is to ensure that the element that's being quality assured is in line with the specific goals of that hub. So to make sure it has a reason to exist and that it's meeting its expectations. So to put this into practice, I'll give you an example. So for instance, a hub could be trying to quality assure its Wi-Fi. So for question 1, you may ask, what is the purpose of the Wi-Fi? In this case, the answer would be something along the lines of, the purpose is to enable hub users to develop their businesses and grow their knowledge through the internet. You could also be assuring something like one of the programs you want to put on in your hub. So another example of this could be, what is the purpose of our Entrepreneurship Accelerator program? And the purpose here would be to develop the competency of young people and help them grow their network to launch their own business.
So yeah, we've gone through the first question of our model. Now the second question of the 3Q model focuses on the audience. And here, question 2 is, who is it for and are they satisfied? So question 2 encourages the hub creators to think about the people. And this is very important. It's really important that the people are always satisfied, because as we've identified, the people are the most important source of finance for a hub. In this manner, the people's needs can be assessed. This may give rise to questions such as, is it serving the right people, or is it satisfying their need? Now, to make this as effective as possible, question 2 should be interactive. It is especially useful in encouraging service users to join in the reviewing and redesigning of any of the hub offerings. This is because it will reduce the amount of assumptions made when assessing the members' needs. Now, to put question 2 into practice, we can go back to our original example about the Wi-Fi. Our question 2 here should be, who is a Wi-Fi for, and are they satisfied? So the answer to this question would be, the Wi-Fi is for members, guests, and users of the hub facilities. So they are connected to the internet. They will be satisfied if the speed is good and consistent, and if they can access it easily, and that if it goes down, it can go back up again quickly.
So those are the first 2 questions. So what is the purpose and who is it for? This brings us on to question 3 of the model, which is related to the mission. So does this fit the mission of the hub? This is a key question that should guide all elements, conversations, decisions, and actions of the hub. So if something does not fit with the mission of the hub, then quite simply it should not be included. So to put this into practice, a hub might be asking itself if it wants to raise the prices of its monthly memberships. In this case, question 3 would be, does raising our membership prices fit with our mission? And the way I'd answer this is, when we created the hub, we wanted to provide a useful space for people to work at a price accessible to all. Raising the price would mean those less fortunate, and possibly those more in need, would lose out. Another example of question 3 could be related to the printing services provided by the hub. And here, question 3 could be, should we charge members for printing? An answer to this question could be, charging members for printing would allow us to keep our membership prices lower, and there would be a fairer price between those who use the printer and those who don't. So that sums up what the 3 Qs are. So that's purpose, audience, and mission.
So bridging to the future, those 5 Ps and the 3 Q models combined will ensure that the hub helps young people who may have an idea or established a small company with a co-working space, and also with the continuous support so that they can finally have a sustainable business. This concludes a section of the webinar regarding how to create a hub and how to quality assure it. So far, now in this webinar, we've addressed the following. So we've discussed the issue of youth unemployment in Europe. We've also discussed that self-employment as a solution to youth unemployment. We've talked about the barriers preventing young people from becoming self-employed. We've also discussed how hubs as a facilitator of self-employment for young people. We've also defined what a hub is, and we've now gone through the 5 Ps to guide to the creation of a hub, and we've also gone through the 3 Qs of quality assuring the hub.
So now we'll look at Impact Hub through the 5 Ps and how they actually work in practice. So we're going to try and ground this webinar in reality by using a case study, and the case study is Impact Hub. So the first Impact Hub opened in central London in early 2005, and it's located on the top floor of an old warehouse. And it's a good example of the spirit of kind of grassroots entrepreneurship, where people see an opportunity where other people see something useless. So it was created by a group of young entrepreneurs who needed a cheap space to work in central London. Everything was built from scratch, and the space was designed to provide a collaborative environment in which people could work, meet, and learn within a modular structure. It featured leaf-shaped tables that everybody shares, a semi-open meeting room where users could hold workshops, a secluded library for quiet thinking, and a community kitchen where people could hold small meetings over lunch or coffee. There were no assigned workstations, so users would sit at a different desk every day and sit next to a different fellow user every day as well, every time they visited the hub. And the main idea here was to create a place people would meet by chance and develop relationships.
So now the idea has spread and resulted in the emergence of a global movement to create impact hubs in more than 45 cities around the world. Now the community is rapidly growing in a way that is globally connected and embedded to the culture, the local culture. So each hub operates independently, but under the shared name of Impact Hub, sharing the same goal and social impact. The creators set up to create spaces that borrow from the best, such as a prototyping lab, a startup incubator, and an inspiring office, or also a learning space or a think tank. Now to create a unique an ecosystem for social innovation. Now spaces with all the tools and trimmings needed to grow and develop new ventures for sustainable impact by providing access to the right experience, knowledge, networks, and finance and markets. But above all, they are spaces for meaningful encounters, exchange, and inspiration, full of diverse people doing great things.
So to put it in context with the 5 Ps, we'll start with the first P, which is of course purpose. So every Impact Hub shares the same purpose, which is at the heart of everything they do. They're about creating a space that is available to people who want to have a social impact through the work they do inside the hub. So each hub is very independent from each other and is completely self-orientated. However, they all share this main goal of social impact.
Now, as well as the physical appearance of each hub, they are also unique and distinct. There are no 2 hubs that are the same, and this is a deliberate decision. The hubs are also a reflection of the purpose. So the hubs on the west coast of the US, for instance, are sleek and polished, reflecting the higher number of tech companies based in them. And on the other hand, the Impact Hub in Islington has a more shabby chic, let's call it, design and reflects its environment.
So ultimately, Impact Hub is about people, and the decisions are made with the interests of the members and hub operators in mind. So they work together to create a pleasant workspace and are both equally influential in the decision process. So the hub operators are known as hosts, and they are responsible for greeting people on entry to the hub, as well as the general administration of the members. However, they also have the opportunity to use the space and the connections within it to work on their own projects. Similarly, members are able to use the spaces in the hub to organise activities based on their specialty, which could include lunchtime brainstorming sessions or morning breakfasts. The members are allowed and encouraged to become an ingrained part of the hub.
This also leads nicely to how the Impact Hub addresses the fourth P, the program side. So each Impact Hub offers a slightly different program. It depends on a number of factors, such as the size of the space to put on events, the speciality of the people in the hub, both the members and the operators, and also it depends on the location. For example, is it surrounded by a number of universities or none? So events can be advertised across the Impact Hub network, and the space can be used by non-members for their own events too. So, for instance, Bridging into the Future, we're going to host an event in a few weeks' time called Feedback and Falafel, where we will promote our work and our EU work through a discussion and through having falafel for lunch.
So finally, each hub chooses its own prices, and this is because each one offers something different. So it's decided by the individual hubs themselves, and they take into consideration all the other factors such as location and facilities. How generally the prices in Impact Hub tend to be a bit cheaper than in other places because of their mission of social impact. So they even include that in the pricing structure as well. Each hub is financially independent, and they're able to generate enough income to support themselves and keep true to their mission.
So, yeah, we hope this has cleared up the 5 Ps and how they work in reality. And that just about wraps up our webinar today on the 5P model and the 3Q model for quality assurance, as well as a extensive case study. Now, we really hope that you enjoyed it and found it interesting and useful. So we hope that we, Bridging to the Future, and John and I, can help you adapt these solutions to the youth in your communities. So now I'm going to unmute everyone, so we can. So if you have any doubts about what we spoke about, you can ask questions or raise any issues.
This might take a while. We've got to do each one individually.
Da, da, da.
jgħidu l-ispessi. Ommi tajt, inti tqajt l-istess. Hija nbidel, hija kif tara ritratt meta kien baby. Mbagħad kellu 16 u issa li għandu 24 inbidel tgħid dawn. Jibqgħet l-istess. Skur li tara, mela.
I think some people.
So, does anyone have any questions? You can either speak out or okay, yeah. I can see there's one question here, but your name is written in Greek, so I can't. Here.
Dobar dan, bote da ja vaš zomljen da ne trošite. Ajde, ja ću vas da zomljen. A nemojte, ajde, ja vas zomljen.
Monica asks if we can send you the materials of our work, and yeah, we will send you all by email our the presentation as well as the recording of this webinar, if that helps. Your email. Andreas, do you have a question?
Thank you. I have a suggestion. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. And I would like to say that we can support all the network that we are planning with the hub, with the program of Erasmus for young entrepreneurs,
I
because
ja vas,
some of
nema dana kad ne mislim na vas. U stvarno sramota da sve odlažemo, rekao neću da vas zovem, nego ćemo doći do vas.
I cannot listen.
I think I might mute everyone, and then when you have questions.
Marti, pošto dobro, ali ja stvarno, s ovim mojim...
Andreas?
Yes, I think it's better to unmute only the person that you give the microphone. Okay,
Yeah.
I was saying that we will be very happy for us, the Academy of Entrepreneurs in Greece, to support the hub creation of your network and the program through Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. We are intermediate organization of Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. So if some of young entrepreneurs of each of these hubs of your network or our network wants to go to other hubs in Europe, we can support by giving them financing through Erasmus for young entrepreneurs.
I think that's a great point. And actually, that should be something that should be worked on. A way to create a network of hubs so they can all work together. And in fact, for instance, the Impact Hub does that. So if you're a member of one Impact Hub in London, you can go to any Impact Hub in the world and connect with the members there. So that really creates a worldwide...
But if you go from Greece to London in an Impact Hub, who pays your travel expenses and your accommodation and food for 3-4 months, let's say?
So yeah, there is an EU project based on that, where I forget what the title of the project is called, where it's a competition, and for instance, they send for a month the winning enterprise to London and pay for their accommodation and pay for their food and travel costs, and as well as their time inside the hub. So, but that should be something that should be developed more as an Erasmus project.
If you have a connection with all these hubs, the hubs that already exist, they can be registered as host entrepreneurs on the Erasmus program, and we can send potential startups from other countries to each hub, and they get financing for 3 or 4 months from Erasmus young entrepreneurs. So we give better quality on the network for Erasmus program as well. I will send you all the links after you send us the material, and it's good to study the Erasmus program because it's good to connect our mutual networks at European level.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, thank you. Now
You're
I see.
welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'd love to hear more information about that. Now, Alessandro has asked a question. He asked, can you tell us from your experience about the timing of opening of the hub, and here, from the first idea to the opening. Okay.
So, how long did it take? I think so. Dan is our colleague in Bridge into the Future who opened up the Impact Hub in Birmingham. We mentioned that earlier in the webinar. I believe it was about, was it 2 years when they first had the idea to the hub actually opening?
Yeah.
So the initial year was kind of finding the actual space they wanted to open it up in, so finding the building, and then also finding the funding they needed to go and actually purchase that building. So they did it through crowdfunding. So they had a little page on Kickstarter, I think it was, and they managed to get money from various donors through that to actually buy the space they wanted. And the next year was spent actually decking out the hub itself, so choosing the decorations, so things like kind of the tables, chairs, painting the walls, things like that, and also securing funding to actually pay for that. So for that side of it, they actually approached Cadbury's, who were actually created in Birmingham, and they still have a foundation there. They approached Cadbury's and said, would you be able to give us money to help finish off our hub? And they did. So I believe it was kind of 2 years from the idea of having the hub to actually opening the doors of the hub.
And Sophia, I think you have a question. I will unmute you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
How are you?
Good, and
Good,
you?
thank you.
Fine, fine. I have a question. You were talking about the hub and the different services that you provide. Do you conduct any assessment, on periodical basis with the participants, people who are registered at the hub, to see how they feel about activities and services provided?
Yeah. So firstly, it's done short term. Well, the assessment is done quite immediately and also monthly. So there's every attendance is recorded. So that's a way of measuring the amount of interest there is. And also at the end of the event, there's always an evaluation part. So for instance, in our feedback and falafel, the reason why it's called feedback is that 15-20 minutes of the event is about receiving feedback on the event we've just held and also the services we've given.
Yeah.
Having said that, then there are also monthly meetings where hub members can attend about new ideas for events, about weekly events, one-off events, or monthly events. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Christina, you asked, could you suggest further readings on the subject?
Well, we've got the EuroHub handbook, which we can also forward to everyone who's interested, and that details a lot of what is said here, but in a lot more detail. And I believe it should have other references in there that you can also look at. If you want to know more about Impact Hub, then you can visit their website, and they've got plenty of information on there about Impact Hub in general, what they do, and kind of how they did it. So there's lots of information in both those places. So as I said, we can send you the EuroHub handbook if that would make it easier for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, within the EuroHub handbook as well, we have quite a extensive bibliography of where we got our knowledge and any other useful reading. And actually, Sophia, to go back to your question, we also in the meetings we discuss the space itself, how we can redesign the space. For instance, do we need showers? Do we need a microwave? It can be from the smallest detail to something more important. So yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? Oh yeah, here. And yes, Maria, we will send you the PowerPoint.
And a recording of the webinar as well.
Now, Monica also asks, can you develop the way the hub can act as a business accelerator? And yeah, so in fact, many hubs work in that model. They have accelerator programs specific to different sectors. So a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, we went to a hub in Prague, where the core of their events and the hub members are startups going through their accelerator program to do mostly with digital technologies and also social enterprise. And then the hub, what they do as well, they can finance the projects themselves, but also act as a matchmaker. So the hub will get the bigger corporations to create an investment pot for these startups. Does this answer your question, Monica? Hello, Monica. Sophia. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Sophia asks, is there an average, do we know the average number of people working in the hubs? That question is quite difficult to get an average. So, for instance, we're in the London Islington hub.
Yeah.
On the day, it can be around 50 different people working together. And it very much depends on the day of the week.
Yeah.
And also the time of the day. So mornings tend to be quite slow. Maybe people here aren't very morning people, or they have usually other meetings to attend to in the mornings.
Yeah, it also comes down to kind of the size of the hub itself. So obviously, if it's quite a small hub, so for instance, the one we're in, it's one floor and it's essentially one large room, and there's a lot of space in there, but the space is limited. So up to a certain point, you can't have that many people there. And also, obviously, if you have a really small space with just a couple of tables, then the average is going to be a lot smaller than somewhere that's kind of 3 floors packed with desks.
And yeah, and the staff involved in our hub, I think, let me count now. It's about, on the day itself, there can be up to 5 to 10 staff. And I think there are about 12 host members. No, there are about 12 hosts in the hub in total. And most of them, however, work part-time.
Yeah.
And then having said that, in London, there are also much bigger hubs than ours. There is one hub in Westminster, and its focus is more on policy making. And Westminster is like the heart of politics in the UK, and that is full of journalists, think tanks, and policy influencers. And that is a much larger hub than ours. I'd say it's about 2 to 3 times bigger.
Yeah.
And yeah. Does anyone have any further questions? Missed anything? Let's see. Okay.
Okay.
I think that's everything then. Well, thank you all for attending. And thank you for bringing in your questions as well.
Yeah, if you do think of anything else after the webinar has finished, or once we've sent you the handbook, if you have any more questions, please feel free to send me or Xavier an email, and we'll do our best to answer whatever question that is.
So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.